Well, first off, Jeramir, thank you so much for helping me with my project.
It's a pleasure.
Could you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you are, what you do, that type of thing?
Absolutely. I am a computer science major. I graduated from UT RGB a few years ago. Been involved with aeronautics for over 10 years. I'm a pilot. So I love everything that flies, everything that goes into space, everything, trying to push the borders the most we can. And I just love innovating. I love the future. I love curiosity. I love, exploration.
And what do you fly?
I usually do single engines. I've done my certification for instruments and commercial multi-engines and everything that flies pretty much. Nowadays, I'm doing just pleasure flying with my friends and family, doing single engines, most, sightseeing, trying to have a good time.
I'm trying to get my private pilot's license. I've been flying a Cessna 172, and I'm probably about 20 hours into it.
Oh, wow, that's great. Don't stop. Get it. Once you are offered the requirements and the difficulty of making all your tests and acing your check ride and your reading and your oral and everything. It's once you are over that, it's something else, man. I really recommend it.
Yeah, I hope to be able to make regular trips from Houston to Brownsville so I can see the Starship do its test flights and what have you over there in Boca Chica.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Actually, the airport is what 10 minutes away from the spaceport, from the SpaceX installations.
Exactly.
It's really close.
It's on the same road, that Boca Chica Highway 4, I think, or something.
Yeah, they're on the same road. You'll just keep driving past the airport, and eventually you're gonna hit SpaceX. Yeah.
So my plan is to interview a different person every day to the end of 2024 to kind of get an idea on what people think about space and that type of thing. And the first question I'd like to ask is, did you know that NASA is planning to go back to the moon in 2024?
Yes, I heard, and I love the idea. I believe that human curiosity is what makes us part of what we are. That's human nature, being able to ask what's there, what is that, exploration and everything. That's part of what makes us humans. So, pioneering, well, the pioneers were over, what, 60, almost 60 years ago. And the fact that we're going back, it's great news.
And how did you find out about it?
Actually, I have a couple of friends who love space, and me, myself, always trying to get involved with the space sport going here in town, with SpaceX news and everything. So I heard over the internet about the plans and started reading about it. It's a pretty big step.
And how confident do you think they'll actually be able to make the 2024 date?
I'm quite confident. I think the technology is already here, that it's going to make us capable to go. I think 2024 is a safe date to play by the numbers. So I believe we're going to be able to do it easily by 2024.
And I've done almost 160 interviews so far. I started this project in the middle of December. And do you want to take a guess about how many of those people that I've interviewed actually knew about it?
Jesus Christ. Most of them, 80% at least.
Would you believe about 20?
20% of people knew?
Well, only 20. 20 out of 150, not even percentage.
Only 20 people. Oh, wow. That's That's a really low number. It's a little bit early, so I guess the news is gonna be spreading around eventually. But I would have thought a higher number will know. But I think it's gonna be a big success once it's closer.
One of them even said, "Why is NASA keeping it a secret?"
I don't think they're keeping it a secret. I just think most people are not gonna be expecting it, perhaps.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with how we get our news these days. Our news is like personalized to our interest. So if you have an interest in space, you see all the space stuff. But if you don't, then you may never see it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. We at home are cord cutters, so we don't watch really that much live TV, or we're usually just getting movies over Netflix and services like that. So whenever I try to see something about space, I have to actively look for it online. Otherwise, I might miss it. Just like you said, it's not coming to us anymore. We have to be looking for that information.
And, it's a big difference from the way it was in 1969 when Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong first stepped out onto the moon. And there were only 3 broadcast television stations, and everybody read the same newspaper. And literally everybody in the world kind of knew about it. I'm not so sure in 2024, when we have the first woman and the next man step on the moon, a lot of people may go a long time before they actually hear about it.
It may happen like that. Hopefully not. Hopefully it's gonna be big news. It's gonna be, at least for us, I'm sure. And but seeing things like, for example, when Felix Baumgartner jumped from the stratosphere from the balloon a few years ago, I remember I was looking at the live broadcast. That was kind of a big news, at least for me. So probably and hopefully most people are gonna be tuning in, trying to get the live presentation. I know some people will be really interested.
One idea I heard some people talk about was maybe trying to get advertisers to incorporate it in with their ads for products. I was wondering what you thought of that idea, and if you had other ideas for getting the word out to a broader section of people.
I think maybe it's not precisely marketing what we need. I think that what needs to be done is spike the interest of younger generations in space. Nowadays, most kids are getting STEM classes and programming and computer science in their curriculums. But, trying to entice them to space exploration or aeronautics or space science, since they are younger, that might be a good idea to get the interest going for the generations to come once they start getting familiar with what it is, instead of just getting it from movies or little information here and there. Just to have it like a formal part of the curriculum, I think that'll generate good interest from people. The marketing is always good. Of course, it's gonna bring a lot of folks that they don't know about. But I think the root cause will be, or the root solution will be, going back to when we were kids, or the new generations are kids, and giving them the opportunity to know about this stuff.
Yeah, I interviewed one person that suggested that if you wanted to get a lot of people to know about it, maybe if you send a civilian to space, a non-astronaut, like you had some type of contest, and it could be like you could go to space.
That'll be a great idea, actually. That'll be interesting to do. Yeah, definitely. I'll sign up for sure.
Yeah, me too.
I'll tell you that.
So, you and I think both are in favor of the sending people to the moon in 2024. I've talked to a number of people who aren't in favor of that. And, there's basically 2 um, 2.5 reasons why some people aren't in favor of it. One is they're like, we have other problems here on Earth. You know, people are going hungry. People aren't getting medical care. You know, we have a problem with our environment. You know, why are we spending all this money on space exploration? And I was wondering, what's your reaction to that?
A couple of things come to mind when you tell me this. First of all, it's not like if we were getting briefcases with money and send them to space or to the moon. You know, we are making all the stuff here on Earth. People are getting jobs. People are getting paid. That money, those resources are going in circulations into the society. At the end of the day, that engineer that built some port is gonna have to live somewhere. He's gonna be eating some food that somebody's gonna be making. He's gonna be purchasing clothes. He's got a car. You know, that money is going back to the circulation. It's not getting rid of $2 trillion, sending them to the moon. It's putting them back in the economy. And another thing is, this is not a pleasure trip to the moon. This is exploration. This is innovation. This is trying to discover more. That's going to help us here on Earth to develop new science, new things. It's even medical experiments going on ISS. So I know the moon's going to be having also some other experiments, and I'm pretty sure the schedule is going to be some sort of exploration that's going to help us down here. Definitely. So I mean, I think that's a misunderstanding from people in which they believe the government is blowing just the money because they have nothing better to do. But I mean, it's, once you think about it, it's money going back into the people's pockets eventually at the end of the day.
Yeah, indeed. And the first time we went to the moon, we had about half the people in the world as we do now. And this time we go back to the moon, it's going to take fewer people to go there. And also on top of that, you know, we have the internet, and we're, you know, poverty has decreased and what have you. So we actually have more people to solve more problems. It's just we have to get them motivated in that direction. We could do both at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. Get people involved. And new technology is making things easier. I mean, of course, this is not an easy task by no means, but the technology is helping us do it. They're easier with less risk. So I mean, it's a good idea. I mean, it's great to do it.
And the second reason that some people say they're against us going to the moon or to Mars or what have you is that they're like, we've messed up the Earth. Why would we mess up these places too? And which I think is kind of, I was kind of surprised to hear this thought, but I was wondering what you think about that.
I sort of understand where they're coming from, saying that we messed up Earth. It's not that we messed up Earth. We have a revolution, an industrial revolution, the last couple of 100 years that we didn't have before. We didn't know any better in the 1800s when all the pollutants started being released to the atmosphere. And, you know, we didn't know any better back then. We do now. We're doing something to fix it. Believe it or not, renewable energy is getting over 50% of houses here in the United States, moving away from carbon. So, I mean, we are on the correct path. So we're not gonna go to the moon and do all the bad stuff that we already know how to avoid. So we are in that time and moment in our history in which we can do it properly and not mess it up. That's I guess what I'm trying to say, that we are capable of doing it in a safe way in which we can take full advantage of it without destroying whatever it's gonna be that we're gonna be doing over there or finding over there.
Yeah, indeed. And, you know, I think the key part is you take a little part of the moon, you experiment with exploring that, and you observe the effect of that, and you learn that to inform how you're going to explore the next part of the moon. So, that way you may make a mistake, but you limit that mistake to kind of like a small spot.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Definitely.
The other thing that, I think there's many reasons to go back to the moon, but if somebody asked you, hey, why are we going to the moon in 2024? What would you say to convince them?
Why are we going to the moon?
Right. What benefits will we get out of it? If you had to convince somebody of that, what would you tell them?
First of all, it's part of, as I was telling you earlier, it's human nature to be curious and try to know more. It's exploration. That's our most basic instinct. Imagine if Europeans hadn't come to America to discover what's on the other side of the sea. I mean, it took thousands and thousands of years for Europeans to get to the Americas. So, I mean, it's part of nature trying to know, of human nature, trying to know what's there, what I know and what I don't know and when can I know. So the mere fact that we're going back to the moon, back then we did it to prove that we can in the 60s. And it was political, so to speak, of course. Nowadays, we are doing it because we should. We, as humans, should explore, should discover more, should learn from what is available to us. So I think it's part of exploration, trying to find out what's there. It's part of being human.
I definitely agree with you. And, whenever you look out into the future of humanity, let's say 500 years from now, what is your vision for what you want humanity to be at that point?
Can you repeat that question? You were breaking up a bit.
Yes. In 500 years from now, what is your hope that humanity looks like and how far it's gone? Like in 500 years, do we have like a city on the moon? Do we have bases on Mars? Do we have bases on the moon of Jupiter, on the moons of Saturn? Or are we sending a ship to another star system? Like how far do you think we could get in 500 years?
I think we are on the brink in a couple of 100 years of going to the other side of the Fermi paradox. I don't know if you're familiar, but in 500 years, I'm sure we're going to be having some colonies in Mars. Absolutely. The moon is going to be going like for vacation. I'm pretty sure we're going to be doing interstellar travel. There's a bunch of theories, if you want to call them wormholes, faster than light travel, this kind of almost magical stuff that you may think is just fantasy, but it's actually science. And it very well may be done in the next 500 years. So I think very, very possibly we're going to be seeing other solar systems as a possibility. And not only that, our solar system is going to be completely, be inhabited by humans. Not, of course, not Saturn per se, but maybe Europa, or as you say, Mars, and the moon is going to be like common ground for us.
That'd be awesome. So Starship is being developed right there in Boca Chica. And, they had a static fire this past week. It turned out to be a lot more dynamic of a fire than they thought it would be. But, they're making great progress on it. Do you think they're going to be able to actually launch Starship into orbit this year in 2020?
In 2020, I am confident, probably, I don't know, probably, because I read the plans that they had in a couple of articles, and they were scheduling, uh, some launches for this year. I don't know the pandemic, if, this has been a couple of months in which everything has kind of slowed down. So I want to say most likely, but I wouldn't be disappointed if it moves to next year. I mean, I think we agree that safety first, safety comes first. So if we have to wait a couple of months more just to be safe, I'd rather wait than just trying to rush the ship and try to do it on a tight schedule. But most likely we're gonna be seeing a launch this year. Probably suborbital, perhaps, but I'm confident.
Now, SpaceX and Elon Musk hope to have a city on Mars with 1 million people by 2050. And at some point, there will be the option for people from Earth to immigrate to Mars. Would you see yourself among those people going to Mars and being on the frontier, or how do you know anybody that would be?
I 1 million people by 2050 is ambitious. It's doable, but it's ambitious. Yes, I see myself as going and be a pioneer to start living over there, the new camp. And I have a couple of friends and a wife. I'm pretty sure will be excited to know the sense to go over there. Excited to, they'll be eager to sign up and be the first to go. So yeah, that's cut me on, cut my wife, and 2 or 3 friends of mine who will also be dying, definitely.
I feel like we should probably create a Mars colony here on Earth first, so that we have a chance to know what type of people would be able to work together and what technologies would work, and to kind of get some practice in terms of what that colony would look like. I was wondering what your thoughts were on that.
Well, that's a good idea. It's kind of happening to some extent nowadays with the pandemic and everybody's being isolated and every place being closed and stay at home and try to survive with what you have. I mean, it's not the same, of course, by no means, but I mean, you kind of get the idea that being isolated in another place is going to be something weird. That film that it's going to come to an end eventually, but you don't know when. So, I mean, it's weird. But yeah, I think doing Earth experiments and trying to you need to figure out what profile of people is going to be able to do it. It requires strength, and not only physical, but also mental strength to endure such it's a tough situation being in a brand new place with just a bunch of people in something that's never been done before. So I believe it's a good idea to do some Earth trials, if you want to call it that. And yeah, I think that would be a way to discover who's fit and who isn't before sending a bunch of people over there and trying then to bring it back, and everything can happen.
Yeah, maybe we should build it in Antarctica or someplace on the top of the Himalayas, or someplace really remote and difficult to live, because even those places would be easier than Mars.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think once you think about it, it's a whole different thing. You can't compare to something on Earth because it's not Earth. It's not here. It's not what we're used to. It's not going to a desert island. It's something completely new.
Yeah, on one hand, completely new, and you're pushing the frontier, so it feels exciting. but also completely new from the standpoint of you're really isolated and you're in a very harsh environment. And
yeah, definitely. And you have to make do with what you have over there.
exactly. Well, Jeramir, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. Did you have any additional comments in closing?
Well, I do thank you, Nathan, of course, for giving me the opportunity. And I'm confident we're going to be able to get this mission in our lifetime of the whole nights in Mars. I'm eager to be part of it, to do it. And even if I'm not part of it, I'm a human being. I'm going to be able to enjoy it and know that we did it in my lifetime. So let's go for it.
Well, thank you so much, Jeramir, and I hope you have a good rest of your day and a wonderful weekend.
Thank you, Nathan. Stay safe. Thanks for everything.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye now.